Flashbacks are coming up, they hit me like a tow truck. Feeling too much like even the moon got a motive. Sometimes when you look around, you might see no one, till you get emotional, now they wanna know you. Wish I could say that I was surprised. Wish I could say it's not on my mind. Control, Alt, delete it, disappear and come back, keep it hardly seen, but every season says create a whole new scenery. If you don't believe in me, hope you stay tuned to see the cosmos working on the nothing that is everything. I don't dream. I just watch as life happens for me. I don't know, but I don't dream. I just watch as life is for me. I don't know, but I don't dream. I just watch as life happens for me. I don't know, but I don't dream. I just watch as life is for me.
I'll be back in a moment. Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure I was actually unmuted in the right OBS because I got two open.
Search. Still will kill, bitch, cause I don't speak for real. Keep it quiet, you will never see it coming till you feel. Buck night to your spine, running quickly to the sky. Open you just like a letter, let me read just what's inside. Like it's mail time, hit the Alpine. Now we bumping, smoking blunts, get to it like it's bout time. In and out of route time, hit stop and count mine. I need every decimal essential for this sound sign. Banking on, cashing off, you show out, I laugh it off. You go out, I stay at home, still your funds is looking low. I ain't wanna give a fuck about a couple dollars, but I know you also tell me how the fuck you plan to pile up. If you wilder than the wildest, that would be me, let's be honest. So just take a second break and take your silver to get polished. Shadow boxing, make it gorgeous, put it on the water, worship. Only thing I frame is progress, for me that's a perfect portrait. Everybody dressing up and doing all their best impressions. Also minute bonds, imitations, I'm a sort of convention. All your shows look like dash cars, stage like a ball pit. Underdeveloped brain, somehow stuck inside some tall kids. Fuck about your talking and your posting, keep it going. It's Final Cut, the way they oversaturate they own shit. If they wanna know you, you just one click away. If they wanna get the bones, that's just something I have to drink.
All right, now we wait. Gonna be a lot of downtime.
Got some woods in the duffel, got some places to touch them. They got money that's love it, cause I got shit I've been wanting. Got some woods in the duffel, got some places to touch them. You got money that's love it, cause I got shit.
So what we're doing right now is we are... Oh wait, did I even do a record? Yeah, I did. So what we're doing right now is we're recording a demo. After this, we're going to hop into the demo, and then we're going to make some keyframes. And the problem with the current keyframes, the problem with the current videos that I've captured, which I'm not going to be doing video capture today, I've got to configure my CSGO so that it's less lossy. But beyond that, we are mostly just going to create the cam path, and then after that I'll record it after I'm streaming. I'm going to get some tips from one of the premier CSGO video editors, which is a very nice gentleman, willing to lend my pleb ass some information as to how to set shit up. Because nothing in CSGO is very straightforward, we'll say. So I should have timed out exactly when I started this, but I think that should be enough. We'll take a look at it in-game. What's up, Luciferius? What's up, Connor? Alright, so let's make the cam path. I think I stopped at like 57:28, so that's a minute and a half, it looks like. That should be enough. We just take a minute and a half long cam path, right? I think we'll be okay. So what tick are we at right now? 3660. So a fun bug that I might be able to show off to you guys at some point, I'll just explain it right now. So it might be a little hard to see. I don't know what resolution the stream's actually at for most people, especially if you're on mobile or something. It's not gonna, you're not going to be able to see it at all. But in the demo smoother, you tell the demo to look at a range of ticks, which are basically frames in the replay. And so you say you're between, in my case, 3660 and 100 or 10,060. So you got these two ranges, or this range of these two numbers. And if you, when you hit jump 2, notice I put 3660 here, but it actually says I'm at tick 3680. So this is inaccurate. And I don't know why. I don't think anybody knows why. Maybe somebody more intelligent than me knows why it happens, but certainly nobody's fixed it. And so if I hit jump 2, like say I want to do 3661, as you can see, that's like now 1, 2, but it's not offset just by like a simple number, because now I'm at 3000 and it's at 3019, not 3020, which is what it was. It was like offset by 20 before or something like that. So we go back to 3660. Sometimes this happens in the inverse, and what you get is the jump 2 actually jumps you to like a couple of ticks behind your range. And if you're not careful, you don't look at that to make sure that the number that is up here is accurate to the number, is at least greater than or equal to the start tick, then you can fuck yourself by capturing a key that isn't in the range. And so when you do the demo smoother, it's not even going to look at that. It just gets deleted. So it's pretty nice. Man, trying to figure out how to do this stuff too is, let's just say it was very interesting. So now I'm not sure what I want to do here as far as the actual camera is concerned. I'm thinking I can just do something like this, where I'm looking maybe for a further pulled back view. And we could do something like that. Oh, let's delete one of the zeros. All right, so now we're at the end, right? So we were looking here. So now I want to see, like, if we're just going to do a very long pullback. It's a very, very simple cam path. It's 2 frames or whatever. And so, like, we can see our original one there. It's like that little green thing. Again, if you're on mobile. Rest in peace, trying to figure out that. And then we are just going to... I mean, obviously, I'm sort of eyeballing it. So I don't know if it's not going to be exact. It's not like I'm just moving the coordinates back. So that should be it. So then we're going to do this. Spline origin, spline angles. This is literally the only stuff that the tutorial ever told me about. So I'm just going to assume that that's what we have to do. We're going to put some more music on. And let's see. Okay, so do play demo just to a smooth. Make sure that it worked. we have drive still on, so it's not gonna capture that. Now this would normally be the point where I'm capturing it, but I don't have to, obviously. Right now I'm streaming, so it wouldn't be great quality. Seems fine to me, as far as an angle goes. It's much more subdued than the current cameras that I have, or the current captures I have. My biggest issue with CSGO is, like, you can see probably all of the like flickering and stuff. I don't know if that's possible to fix, so that'll be something that I ask my prospective tutor at some point. Alright, so what we're going to do now is go to Dust 2 again. And we're going to record a another very exciting camera angle. Okay. Hi. So I don't even remember what I did here before. I think it was something like I had him here, right? And then, oh, I think he's stuck. Yeah. That's a really shit angle to take in game, though, so I think I'm actually going to move him over here. You want to be peeking from the right side where possible. So far, so good, man. We actually did 3 shows, because 3 this week. Normally we just do 2. But there were some concerns raised to me about some of the issues. Can you even get up here with like a boost or something? Oh, okay. Don't do that. The fuck? Is this valve saying no? Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Alright, well, whatever. Alright, so we'll say... Well, hold on, we'll jump again. So at 20, so we'll do another minute and a half, which is... 56.50. This was the first week we did everything live as well. What we're gonna do here at some point, I think, is... I'm probably just gonna capture the Dust 2 stuff, and then preview it. And then I'll switch over to Brood War stuff. But I wanted to see if my theory was correct. So, I mean, it was honestly fine. Like, I didn't have any issues with it. The overlays were suboptimal, for sure, and they had been for a while. So I recently remade them from scratch, pretty much. Like, similar ideas, but they look nothing like what they used to look like, so. I'm pretty happy with how the new ones turned out. We actually debuted it today, after some conversation about it earlier. So like, this is what they look like. This is the one for the 4-man, which is the main show that we do. My main concern is, like, for a while, right? We had, I don't even know if I have an example pulled up anywhere, but we basically had the nameplate here. We had those, the label area where the names actually go. We had them built into the webcam profile, but as like a transparent portion. So I still had parts of the webcam showing underneath that. And I thought it would have been fine, I think, but the problem was I didn't then have enough space in the webcam itself, like in the border. Like they were much smaller before. So the webcam borders wound up not being as spacey as you would want. And as spacious, I suppose. So because of that, we had a very... there was many occasions where I was I was editing the webcams and their boundaries in the middle of the show, which obviously doesn't look great if you're watching, because it's literally me resizing stuff. And then after that, we had some other shit related to that, where people's heads weren't always in the same like juxtaposition or whatever. And so I'm very particular with stuff. Like, I try to tweak stuff as best I can. I try to do it as early as possible so that it doesn't really impact the viewing experience. But naturally, you're not always going to win with that. So now they look much better, I think. And I started, for a while, I had like the text as like layers here, like you can see. I was moving it around in OBS. I decided to just put those in Photoshop. It's not like we're going to have a surprise guest where, like, in the middle of the show I'm going to have to prepare something, although if it was the case, I could do that then too. So because I'll always know ahead of time, like this was set up because I thought that this was going to be the guest, Stewie. He's a player for one of the best teams in the world. We ended up not going with him. He had some other thing come up. So that's like why he's on here. But anyways, like I always get like a couple hours notice at the very least of what the guest actually is, and then I can go find their name and their Twitter handle and put that here. So it's totally reasonable for me to do that in Photoshop. The other thing that I'll probably wind up doing is making the colors all the same. So this dark, like maroon red will be changed to the brighter red of the camera borders. Like, this is where the faces would go. So that was like the biggest thing and most time-consuming aspect, I think, that I wound up doing. So it's definitely interesting. Anyway. I feel like we have way less time this time. I think we waited an extra minute beforehand. Yeah, I think it was 2.5 minutes, not 1.5. Judging by the amount of text that we have here. Maybe I'm wrong. It was 3660 to 10... or to like 160? That's 7, right? So that's like 6,500. So actually, no, that seems proper to me. Alright. So I was just in my own head about that for no reason. You can see how antiquated this this whole process actually is, though. Pretty sick, if you ask me. Alright, so I think we're going to try to do the same thing in most of these angles. We're just going to try to pull back into the area where the peaker is. The show is called Peaker's Advantage, after all, so it makes sense. The only problem is, with here, this isn't as spacious a site, so we have to like zoom in, and then if we want the same travel distance and speed, we have to have relatively the same travel distance across the same amount of time. And in order to pull something like that up, I don't think it'll be possible, because long on Dust 2 is so long, like that's his fucking name. Whereas this is definitely not as long of a distance. So I think we are going to go for the more aesthetically pleasing shot, and we'll just hope that the speed is not that much slower in this particular case compared to long. But we can always tweak these anyways. These are not not necessarily meant to be final. They're just a set of experiments that I wanted to do, but I also wanted to stream, so that's why. That's here we are, right? Origin and angles. Save. Alright. He probably does have to train for a tournament, yeah. Alright. Turn drive off. Demo, go to tick. There was like 6,500. It's probably moving a little bit slower than the other one, but... Yeah, well... They went through a bit of a slump recently, but I think they got... You know, I have faith that they'll be able to pull it all back. What is my FPS anyway? Oh, I'm surprised it's that high. Considering I've got like a second OBS running, I'm streaming. Oh, I know, they were fucking godlike until the major. No team could ever even come close to them. And then they sort of, they didn't quite land on their feet when it comes to the group stage, and then Astralis completely anti-stratted them. Which is, not what you would want. What's up, Bailiff? How are you? So like, this is sort of what I'm talking about with the old angles. It's like, as you can see here, we have this like sweeping shot, right? And it isn't that complex of a shot, but when it's in the background of a talk show, it should move slower. It should be less choppy in general. And maybe even the fade should be more pronounced. I'm not sure about that one. I guess I would have to do some testing. But I'm just thinking, like, what would make this a better experience to view? And it probably is that, even though it's not very complicated at all, smoothing that out, making it so that it is just like, you know, you're fixated on the same point at all times and you pull away from that shot. That's a very simple thing, and if you make that consistent across all the shots, I think that'll be more reasonable. Like that is actually much faster by default. Oh, hello. And that's much faster rather by default, but you know, I actually had slowed it. I slowed it down way before. Like in post, basically. And that's not going to look as good as if it were. Alright. I think if we do bot mimic off. I just want to make sure. He's a little far out, I think, maybe. Like... Sounds good to me. Alright, so I don't actually know. I need the HUD so that I can see my my time here. And we'll jump at 50, I suppose. Alright, so 58.50 is 57 is a minute, so 57.20. Right, yeah, so. Yeah, I agree. That's why I don't play Dust 2. One of the many reasons why I don't play Dust 2. So we're just going to do this last one because it'll be the third one, and we all know the power of 3. Then I'm going to get some water, and we will commit to a Modstream here. Spend a little bit more time on Brood War than we did it for CS. Just need 20 more seconds to roll by, and we'll be good. I hope this is actually replacing the old files. I really don't want to keep those. They all have the same file names. So. Come on, make the jump. Better make sure what exactly. Alright, so the big question here, right, is like, can we possibly make it through? This is where we're gonna get fucking crazy, okay, guys? Can we make it through here without clipping through something? I'm gonna say no already, but I don't know. What happens if we do this? Oh? Maybe? Maybe? Let's go all the way back and see if we clip through something. Maybe not. Wow! We might have found it. We might have found the fucking magic angle here. Okay. Let's try that. Well, no, I know the files are working because I'm playing them, but I mean the old files, I don't want to keep those for this particular purpose. Because they're all bad. Okay, so now the problem is I've got to recreate that exact angle. I mean, it's not really that big of a problem. I can just do the same fucking thing, but I want to recreate that exact thing. I think there's some weird, like, smoothing for the camera that happens in this area, too, though. It's like, let's come back over here. And back. We are definitely a little bit lower. How is that not clipping? Oh, it is. Yeah, let's go up a little bit. Oh, hold on. Hold your horses. No, I think maybe I'm even higher. Hold on. What exactly am I supposed to be at here? I thought I was supposed to be up here, right? Okay. Yeah. See, the thing is, it's so fucking precarious. I feel like we probably need to, like, math out when it would get here in the time as the ticks, as it corresponds to ticks. Let's try that, though. We'll see what happens. And again, at least I have this concept that I can run through. The other problem, though, is that if having it go through all of those things is probably not great for, like... It's a cool cinematic shot, maybe, but it's probably not great for a podcast. But I have the concept anyway, and so I can always figure out something else to do with it. See what happens. Alright, I'm running this through at max speed right now, so we'll see. Well, it's not really max speed, but... Like, suddenly having the camera oscillate, or like be surrounded by all of the stuff here. Oh, yeah, we definitely clipped through that. And that. What else? Yep, there's another one. See, that's tough. I don't know how we're gonna do that. Because you can't, like, edit the cameras in a... At least as far as I know. Maybe with HLAE, it's like a plugin for it. You might be able to do it. I actually do have that downloaded, but I have no idea how to use it, so... That will be an interesting experiment. But I have the idea. I still think it would probably just be better to start, like, lower. Well, the thing is, like, if you start lower, you have to... You'll end in suicide. You can't end at T-spawn. So maybe you have to start higher for a shot like that. I'm not sure. Alright, well. We've done some experiments here. I think I can close that. And I can reopen this. And I can turn that off. And I can go to the screen and go get some water. Alright, so, where were we? I think we can close this. I can probably close that. Gotta do timestamps for the other one later. I don't know what I just deleted. Can't have been, too important. Somebody clipped me talking, I think. It's probably me saying, if you are a Patreon, the website, Patreon. I guarantee you that's what it is. Guys, if you are a Patreon, that's right, if you are the website, patreon.com/PeakersAdvantage, you too can have your very own early access to the Richard Lewis podcast. I'm going to be posting it as this stream stops. So when this stream is no longer live, head over to patreon.com/speakersadvantage, pledge at least $10 if you haven't already, and you yourself will gain access to that podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. Bye. I'm glad I'm in a position where I can say bye to like hundreds of people at a time. It's fun to say bye to you guys too, don't get me wrong. But, you know, sometimes that quantity just gets you. You are a Patreon. You win early access to a show where Richard Lewis yells at people for like 2 hours. No, he's that guy's pretty cool. I like him. He's my role model. Did I even turn on? I actually don't even have mix play on right now. Oh, I guess it'll just stay off. Very unfortunate. That's okay. Alright, so, now we're back to the Brood War stuff. Where were we when we stopped? I guess I could do a mod stream thing now that I'm actually doing mod streams. Yeah, now you can't insert crows into anus. Perfect. Save that for a copyrighted segment of custom campaign or something. Alright, so... I actually was able to, you know, add some more unbuildable tiles and details here and there throughout the map. I think it's time we start doing some AI, though. I actually had started an AI, but my power went out, and I hadn't saved it. It was only like 5 lines, though. I don't even know what color this is. I think I'm just gonna call it RN for Renegade. And we will also take a sample from... I guess Redwood is a fine example. A shining example. Alright, so this is the other thing I have to do, is I gotta go through and find... Ah, it looks like I'm already out. In terms of recently closed files. No, you idiot. Abanadoned. So we'll do... oh, we only need 2. I just remembered. Slot 3. There's area 8. Hey, hi, Pylon Master, how are you, man? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. What player even is this? This is player 7. Nice. Glad to hear that, man. Of course. I hear ya. Dude, it's rough, man. I remember when I had no computer for like a week, and all I did was just work at my job at the time. Like, I literally couldn't do anything else pretty much. Like, I was waiting for repairs to come through. So, like, it wasn't even like a money thing, but I made some pretty good money there. Like, I just, you know, occupied my time that way. But it was definitely interesting, you know, just to realize, like, am I really that dependent on technology? Yeah, I definitely am. Like, I do all my work, not just like for money, but also hobbies. All of that shit comes out from there. So it was definitely a little eye-opening, I guess, to see it happen like that. Marking the buildings is hallucinated, so I remember what's pre-placed and what isn't. WoW Classic, huh? I steered clear of that one. But it sounds like you were having a good time either way. Let's cut down on the hatcheries just a little bit. Because off of one base, they'll only really be able to use a few of these. I definitely still have to do some more work, like most notably decor. The map is not decorated, and I have to do some more custom tiles, like the ruined terrain tiles that I was working on the last stream that I did for this. But the bulk of the work is going to be AI now. The outline is pretty much done. Like, I think this is a very functional outline. There's a couple of areas that I wanted to keep tweaking. Like, for example, I've been adding small areas like this, where they're one-way or only two-way raised bits. Like, raised jungle is really, really useful for that. But my options for doing that in the top half of the map are very slim, mostly because I don't have a raised jungle blend or anything that acts like raised jungle that I can use that's low impact on the terrain around it, because cliffs are a little bit more heavily impactful in terms of pathfinding and all this other stuff. So I don't have any raised jungle that fits in here. I could make some, but I don't know how good that would fit. Like, I'd basically have to take raised jungle, and I would have to keep the sides of it, right? I'd have to keep these sides somehow. Mask out all of the raised jungle shaded grass, mask out all of the jungle shaded grass, put dirt shaded well, just dirt, like low dirt, but, you know, surrounding it, and then high dirt on top of it, so that people would still see that there's a height advantage there, and then I have to, of course, make blends for the ramps. That might work. It is a bit of a shot in the dark, because I don't actually know what that would look like. Then it's like a mound of dirt or something, like a hill, basically, that you're on, instead of a proper cliff. But I don't know what the final cut of that would look like at the end of the day. At the very least, it would give me some stuff that I can do. Like, I actually wanted to convert this into something like that, so that you clearly see that the biome is changing. There's no more grass here. It's like, you know, turning into some barren shit. And then, like, use more doodads and stuff to have, like, transitionary areas, basically, between the barren and the lush areas of the map. As for what this is all about, this is a special edition of Eye of the Storm build, and it is for 3 players. I'm making it for a Mapperino, which is a contest held by Jabrino. We have until, like, I think the 3rd week of November, because it was extended by 2 weeks. It was due on the 8th of November, but then it was extended by 2 weeks, so that is the 22nd, which is exactly 4 weeks from now. So we have, like, basically a month from now. And in those 4 weeks, I have to make all of the AI, implement some new units with the help of iQuare, who's doing the coding, as always, for Hydra, fix some bugs and all that, do some testing, release a public beta, that sort of stuff. But basically, it's just a giant map. It's a 256 by 256 map, so max map size, for those unaware. We do have the Overmind as your main opponent. One player will be playing as Tassadar, one player will be playing as Raynor, and one player will be playing as a micro player who only uses a hero. And that hero may summon some stuff or do some other things that allow you to control more than one unit. But the primary engagement tool will be like a MOBA almost. So basically adding MOBA tools into Starcraft so that you can play and still be engaged. Because the problem with all these micro maps is that you're never engaged. You're like working at like 20 APM or something, and there's no real effort on behalf of the player to find success in the game. There's never any point where you have to really worry about that. And so that's like a big deal for me. That's something that I definitely want to focus on when it comes to working on this stuff. Is, you know, it's a shot in the dark. It's kind of an experiment. I don't know what what's going to happen if you maintain the mechanics of an RTS, but you just have one player playing as a hero. Like, I don't know what that's going to do to the overall spectacle of the thing. But I am excited to see what happens, and that is certainly an experimental thing. But that's like one of the major elements of this that sets this map apart, beyond just its scale being so large and it being so demanding because of it having AI that are actually competent. And as you can see, Aldaris' Nexus is in the top right. He is actually an enemy for this, so that throws the free-for-all aspect in. And then you've got some Renegade Zerg that are going to greet you and guide you from the early game into the mid-game, sort of serving as a buffer. These are from a Cerebrit that was defeated before you arrived. And so the idea is that they had a pre-established presence. It wasn't super high-tech, and it is still recovering from the loss of the Cerebrit, so it's not behaving as organized as it would, but it will really just look to take as many expansions and just be a nuisance. And over time, the Overmind itself will regain control of that brood. It's just not going to be instant. So as time goes on, you'll see it be less and less aggressive towards the Zerg and more aggressive towards you. And that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of like moving parts in that sense, where Aldaris is now in the map and he's an enemy and he's fighting you and the Zerg. You've got a Zerg that starts out as its own team in a sense, but slowly changes to the allegiance of CAG and the Overmind. You, of course, have CAG and the Overmind as your main enemies, the Overmind being more so. And then you have this MOBA-esque element thrown in there as well. So it's definitely a map with a lot of moving parts, like I said. There's a lot going on in it. Well, I think it's a really cool idea. Like, I think all this stuff definitely can work. And I think, thankfully, in large part due to the fact that I have the community like you guys, like you, Connor, specifically, testing all this stuff and giving me ideas and giving me feedback and being honest about it, too, and not just, like, blowing smoke at my ass. Being able to look at this and say, you know, this is what needs work, this is what's looking good. This is giving me the foundation to be able to make something like this and really have, like, a strong feeling like, yes, this will succeed. So I am also looking forward to seeing it in action, playing it myself. I don't know what the difficulty will end up being. For sure, because there is a time restriction on this, there's a chance that the difficulty is not optimized to the point where it's what I want it to be. So that could mean it's too easy or too hard. I'm not sure which. I am aiming for a very high skill cap, despite the fact that the judges for the contest that this is ostensibly being produced for are not going to meet the skills. At least I would expect that they're probably not as skilled as they would need to be to win what my ideal difficulty curve would be for this. But that's okay for me. And even if they dock points, that's okay for me. This was just an excuse to get me and iQuare working on a map, like the same project, in a dedicated fashion where we're specifically making changes that we want to showcase of Hydra, sort of like a test demo, or like rather a tech demo of the overall game state. And so I'm looking forward to stuff like that. DF has joined. Hello. How are you? How's your threes? So, let's get some AI, huh? Well, to be fair, I don't know if they will. I'm just saying, like, that was a concern that somebody else had brought up a little while ago. Not so long ago, I guess, because, like, obviously we've been working on this for about a month now. Or less than that, I guess, but... oh, no, I guess it has been at least a month. Because I think we started working on it, like, the first half of September. So, yeah, it's probably been a little bit over a month. But either way, like, it's obviously a more recent development. But somebody did mention, like, well, you know, you're making this for a contest that's being held and run by Jay Barino and Deltron. So, like, I know their skill levels, basically. Or at least the last time I saw them play Brood War. Like, it's fresh enough in my mind that I have a feeling, like, what their average skill level actually is. So they probably won't be able to beat this, or at least not on the first try. That's fine. Like, I'm not really that worried about it. The biggest issue for me is just making sure that... the map is good. That matters a lot more to me than, you know, like, who ends up having something to say about it. Like, obviously, like, my standards are going to be very different than theirs, right? So they may value accessibility and being able to win even if you're not meeting the skill requirement. And that is obviously their prerogative. It's their contest. Like, I'm not going to complain about whatever their, what's it called, their criteria end up being. Oh, wait. I think I just put the wrong height. Looking through and I'm realizing I probably could have blacked out part of the tiles here and there. No, thank you, man. There's a lot of work that went into getting it to the point where I can do all this stuff, but I'm glad that it all exists. Certainly wouldn't have been able to pull it off all by myself, but if I'm given the freedom, I'll put as much time as I need to into something to make it happen, you know? It's all good, man. Alright, I think we got all of the ramps. Oh, no. There's another one. Every time I think I got them, they pull me back in. I think that's everything, though. Alright. That's a very minor note, but something that will piss me off if I do some base layout and it's not quite good. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just in the main base. I was thinking about making them be able to like build and infest in the lower areas. I'm not sure about that. I still think that there might be some sort of upgrade that I give or like passively enable after they've reached a certain tech level, like Hive Tech, for example, that makes it so that basilisks are able to... the creep that they generate, obviously it's less than that of a creep colony. So I might reduce the amount of creep or the speed or whatever that they generate it further so that it's even smaller of an area and it spreads even slower. But make it so that you can put that over unbuildable terrain and still be able to creep. I don't know how that would work exactly. Like, you'd probably have to make a separate creep class, and I have no idea how iQuare feels about doing that work. I don't know what that code base would look like. But to me, that would give even more value to basilisks being able to burrow. Like, as long as the terrain is pathable, it can be built on if it's got basilisk creep on it. And then maybe you would do like a different creep color to indicate that at a moment's notice. And that can really make the Zerg feel like they are taking over the area. Notably, this does mean, though, that like the basilisks still have to be there in order to spread the creep. So even if you put like a creep colony down on these ruins, for example, like that's not going to be enough. You have to keep the basilisk burrowed there. So I don't know how the AI will handle that. Like, odds are they probably wouldn't be able to do much with that. But it's more meant for, like, just one-and-done scenarios anyway. So, sort of like placing down some turrets, right? It would be like harassment in an area where you couldn't normally build. Or, like, taking over an area that you couldn't normally build in. Like, if the AI expands to this area here with the mud, this is a double gas, I'm going to add even more unbuildable terrain over here, but it'll still be pathable like these ruins. Then you can have the basilisk there, they can take over the area, they can do something that other AI or other races can't do with the zone control, potentially. And that adds another way to interact with the environment, the terrain, in a way that is a bit more interesting. Because like Terrans can just plop down tanks anywhere, it doesn't have to be buildable. And I don't want to make that a requirement either. I don't want to make it so that tanks have to only be able to siege on buildable terrain, which is something that I thought about, but ultimately it's like kneecapping them too situationally, I feel like. In this case, you're giving an advantage to a race that doesn't normally have that based on an upgrade and based on using a particular unit. I think that's better because it doesn't feel like you're taking an advantage away from another race, like what would be the siege tank nerf. Whereas in this case, you're just giving something extra over. And the other thing I was thinking about is I think this was an old StarCraft 2 alpha change that they made, where photon cannons could move as long, like they were able to move within the psi radius, and they had a very slow movement speed, like I'm trying to think of like what a corollary would be in StarCraft. I don't think there's anything that moves quite so slow. It'd be like an ensnared battlecruiser or something. I don't know. So very, very slow is the bottom line. And I think I could reinstate that. I don't know if that would be a default behavior. It would probably be some sort of upgrade that like when the pylons, because I've reworked the power system, when the pylons are supercharged, which is or I guess when the photon cannons are supercharged, they would be able to be, moved around. I think that was the idea that I had originally anyways. That makes more sense. So basically supercharging is when you have double the power requirement for a structure. So for a robotics facility, I think the robotics facilities now cost 2 power instead of just 1 power. And so that's 1 pylon power. Like you can upgrade individual pylons or you can place additional pylons and that will generate more power within that field. and that's how you get more power. So like Templar Archives and Fleet Beacon and Arbiter Tribunal, these cost 3 power because they're high-tech structures. But you know, Observatory is 1 power, Gateway is 1 power, Photon Cannon's 1 power, and so as long as there's 1 power in an area, like you could still do like 1 pylon and then like 5 gateways if you want, if you can fit it all. But the idea is that you need more than that power manifest in that field in order for the higher tech structures to be accommodated. And so I was thinking like maybe double charged photon cannons can just move like by default. Maybe it's an upgrade, I don't know. But. Pylon placeage is within your area of expertise. It seems like it. You would have the name for it. Yeah, definitely this is more of an excuse, though, Balefal, to try out some stuff and demonstrate how far Hydra's come since the remaster. Because most of the people that are going to clue into this contest, the contest results, are going to be people who are probably familiar with Hydra in some capacity or heard about it, but not for years, right? Or not for a year. So that'll be good. But I don't really want to put that into an upgrade because it feels really, really hyper-specific to upgrade a, you know, any old sort of, I don't know how to explain it really, but it feels very weird to say, hey, I specifically need to upgrade this. Very niche element that I probably won't use for most of the running time of this game. Like, that's the same thing where, like, I wouldn't want to make you upgrade basilisks so that they could spread buildable creep on unbuildable tiles. Like, that should probably just be like a hive tech or a lair tech upgrade or something. Like, something that you get just by virtue of having them. Maybe it is the default behavior. With photon cannons, I can understand a reason for not making it a default behavior. And it doesn't really feel right to cannibalize the mechanic where... when you upgrade, like you reach a certain tech level, you get a certain behavior because that's a Zerg thing, and I want to keep that a Zerg thing. But I do like the idea of maybe making it so that you have to research power flux, which allows you to upgrade your pylons on an individual basis to supercharge, like provide 2 power instead of 1. When you research that upgrade, maybe at that point, photon cannons also receive this benefit. So it's like a 2-pronged upgrade. Like, you can just throw that into that. So. Sneaky Larva, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, it would be too powerful, or it would just be too niche. And the idea of tying it to an upgrade is really what bugs me, I guess. I do think it makes more sense for Protoss to be able to upgrade their pylons, especially after I already breached that by making it so that they could upgrade their production structures. So, I want to keep that up if I can. Like, it just makes sense to me that they would use similar mechanics to stuff that they already have established, I guess. So. I guess I really should move the foobar into the other... Why? Why does Windows even exist? Move it to the other desktop, that's what I'm going to say. trying to think. I don't know if I want to keep 2 options for the evolution chamber in the main. Like, it makes sense, and I guess I already have most of what I need here, so I'm not really that worried about placing stuff. The other thing is that, like, we have to fix creep. Like, creep should be able to spread 1 tile lower in all of these bottom edge cases. I already talked to iCore about that. I put that in the game state, so, like, the documentation. I think at some point we should be able to get that done. But that's really irritating. Like, I want to be able to just say, okay, you can put your evolution chamber here, or like a creep colony right here. But you can't because Blizzard broke it. I guess I don't know what happened. I don't even know what caused that. Put that at a lower priority because I don't want... I would rather the AI has this here because this will defend against this creep colony being meleeed. So, let's do... I don't think it looked weird. Like, I have a screenshot somewhere. This is an example of what it looks like. I think it looks better, actually. Like, I guess maybe right here in the middle, you can argue that it doesn't look great. I don't really think that's that bad of a trade-off, though. Like, I think overall it looks more infested. It looks like it's overlapping. Certainly could look better. Like, if we could make it so that it hangs off the cliff or something, like it's draped down or something like that, that would be ideal. That's another engine, though. That's not Brood War's engine. Yeah, I haven't tested it on all the other cliffs, because doing so, it requires editing the tile set. And I didn't want to edit that just to test visually. It'll definitely look weird. Like, it'll definitely look off because it's something you've never seen before, but it's like the built-in asset. So that's kind of what it looks like to me now. Is like I look at that screenshot that I just showed up, that I just pulled up, and it's kind of like that. It's like, it's weird. It's a little off. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I felt that way just about looking at these like tiles, right? Like ruins blended with temple. It's default assets. They're just masked together, maybe with some shading or whatever. That's just a little odd. Like, I wouldn't expect that to be in the game. Like, that's something that obviously only somebody who's really paid attention is going to notice. Like, for like stuff like this as well. Like, this is actually these are all extended tiles here. These cliff edges. This doesn't blend normally. Like, I've done a lot of stuff like this just to have a little bit of extra ability to move stuff around and get some stuff done. Like over here as well, these are custom. But or like up here where we have the dirt temple mixed with the cliffs and stuff like that. Like it is a little uncanny, but I think you'll just get used to it. Most people probably won't even notice. Like, if I've done my job well, most people won't notice because they'll just assume that that's like a default asset or whatever. So. Yeah, I actually had a similar reaction when I would see creep. That's why I think it's cool to see it over something that you don't normally see it over. You know what I mean? Because it's just something new, and it does feel very distinctly Zerg. So. Alright, so we have. Two, three. I want to say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It should work. Oh, right, yeah, like if you were busy macroing and you had your units off in some corner of the map looking for stuff, just scouting, and then they just get lurkered or something. I could see that happening. Alright. Trying to decide if I want... I think these guys will probably not use Defilers. Maybe they will in the very late game. I kind of like... See, here's the thing, right? So, Renegade Zerg are supposed to not have any leadership. That's like our idea that we got from Blizzard, right? But I honestly feel like they should resort to their feral instinct or whatever. But... their feral instinct should be to act as an organism, not like individual Zerg, obviously. Like, their instinct should be to... like, maybe the Cerebrits' play style, strategies, personality, would be encoded in them. I like that idea. And so, to me, like, that would be their default... like, what they would revert to. That makes more sense to me than them just literally being dumb, right? Which is how you see them painted in a lot of other environments. And so, I think they should use the whole tech tree. I think they should actually be relatively competent in a sense, but maybe lack direction, but not tactics. Like, they know what the fuck they're doing. They're organisms. It's written into their genes. Like, it's not like they could possibly have any other approach. So, I don't know. I just feel like it's so weird that we see representation of them is just dumb after their Cerebrit is dead. Like, it makes sense that they wouldn't know exactly how to target certain things. They wouldn't know how to read the battle as well, because they're lacking that leadership. But they would have the same... I feel like that their instinct as a collective organism would remain intact. And so they would still know. It's weird, but, like... You know how, like, a dog knows how to sniff where other dogs have been, and they know to pee there? Like, that's how male dogs, anyways, are territorial in that sense. So, like, they just know that. They know what to do. It's like, nobody taught them how to do that, obviously, so they just know. It's like, Zerg know how to build fucking Ultralisks and Defilers and cast Dark Swarm on top of their Ultralisks as they charge into a Terran army. Like, that's how I think of it. I think that makes way more sense than them just reverting to some stupid, like... I'm dumb. I don't know. Like, what is the point of the command structure of overlords if they don't carry any intelligence or any... Maybe not intelligence, but maybe... Like, do they not encode the instructions of the Cerebrits and pass them on, like acting as relay nodes or satellites or something? Like, that's what I would think, is that they relay that signal, that order. And so, why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Yeah, ant colony, something like that. Right, like, disoriented makes way more sense to me than them just being dumb and rolling over and offering no resistance and just being there to, like, guide the player in slowly, you know what I mean? Like, I do want them to serve as an onboarding experience. You are fighting Zerg, but these guys are renegades. Their Cerebrits already been defeated. They're not going to be as important. They're not going to be as strong. They're not going to be as capital. Like, they're not going to capitalize on certain things. You know what I mean? Like, if they see that you're weak, like, they won't even be able to read that data. Where the Overmind or CAG sees you're weak, he's going to fucking kill you. Or he's going to take this opportunity to get something else on the map, like, while you're rebuilding or something, you know? Like... That's the kind of personality I want. And so, I don't know how best to do this. Like, obviously, this is a map where people are being thrown in out of nowhere. They have no idea what the tech tree changes are. They have no idea about a bunch of other stuff. I don't want to just info dump on them. Like, I don't want it to just be this fucking snooze fest in that department where they're just told everything. And I don't want them to have to read a wiki article on all this stuff either. So, like, obviously, I'm not going to do any of that. But... I am 100% sold on the idea of, like, this AI being written, like the dialogue about them, will be like, yeah, you know, the renegades should prove to be little challenge. Meanwhile, like the player just gets, like they don't get fucked by them necessarily, but the player gets like surprised by how effective they are, and they're like, wait, these guys were supposed to be pushovers compared to what? And then they get mega fucked, you know what I mean, by everybody else. So I like that idea personally. I think that'll be good. So I'm just saying I think it could work. That's all. Could be a nice way to surprise the player. Yeah, worse at planning, worse at reacting, and well, it's like they have a plan going in and they can't adapt. That would be my ideal of a renegade swarm. So whatever the plan of the enemy was before the server got fucking XD'd out of the universe is what they're gonna go for. Yeah. They aren't really going to adapt per se. I think that's totally fine. That makes perfect sense to me. So. Yeah. I like that idea. Let's make it happen, boys. Now, Pylon Master, you haven't been around, so you might be interested in some of these changes that I've made. Or some of these things that I've proposed. So I finally decided to fill out the aberrants, which are the Zerg hero equivalents. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Hydra is going to have heroes for all three races. And the first is Terrans. They just have a hero unit. It can go make a few different forms. Raynor can be in a Vulture or a Marine as his base unit. Gets different abilities and stuff depending on which hero he is, like which form he is in. That's how you customize them. Protoss get... Terran heroes also get upgrades specifically for them. You can upgrade them. That's how you can like specialize them in addition to paying for their new forms later on in the tech tree. Protoss are pretty vanilla and actually cheap to deploy the base unit. But it's not really that changed based from like the original version of the unit. Like its numbers will be more reasonable. Like Zarch is not going to deal 100 damage, for example. But stuff like that will be fairly simple. But the real power that they're going to have is relics, which are items. Which is why we chose relics for or the Protoss for this MOBA system, because it's kind of like an item system in that sense. You'll be able to equip 1 weapon, 1 armor, and 2 augments, so up to 4 items per hero. And the idea is that there's like a whole host of relics to choose from. I just added another augment recently called Siren's Claw. And that one, as an example, empowers your attacks to deal half of your base weapon damage to the enemy's energy pool. So if you hit a High Templar and you deal 20 damage, then he'll lose 10 energy, in addition to taking 20 damage. If they're below 25 energy, then your weapon instead deals double damage to them. So it's like a double active, where if you target a low energy hero or unit, you'll actually be doing more damage. So like numbers may be tweaked, but that's like an example of what you might expect. Just empowering your playstyle in certain areas. Like if you want to focus down enemy spellcasters, you can use a high DPS, high attack rate hero, like a Phoenix Zealot or something. And with this relic, you can really nail all of their energy down and start destroying them at that point. So stuff like that is there. The aberrants, though, are for Zerg, and they behave very differently. They're meant to actually be something that you could spam if you want to, but the more you invest in a single aberrant, the more impactful it is when you lose them, obviously. Like, the idea is that they are meant to be lost and replaceable. But it is a bit of an investment. So I'm not going to read all of the changes here, but I have an example of a Devouring One replacement, the Nathrakor, Hunter-Killer replacement, the Convemoth, and a Matriarch replacement, the Bastathir. And the Matriarch, or the Bastathir, is particularly interesting, I think, because they have a modified version of Spawn Broodling called Brood Spawn, and you can upgrade it a few different ways. One of them includes spawning an infested Terran in addition to Broodlings, and I think that'll be, interesting for some people. Some people may be interested in that. So stuff like that's like enhancing allies in various ways, and then enhancing their own abilities in various ways and stuff like that. So that's an example of the Aberrants. Like, one thing that I really like about the Bastathir is that it actually has a concussive attack that's very low damage, but let's see. When you upgrade the second tier of their Might mutation, which is it's a corollary to Strength, basically, the Bastathir has this gains a behavior called Fertile Prey, and enemies within who are killed within 4 seconds of being attacked by this unit spawn whatever their Brood Spawn ability spawns. So they might spawn an infested Terran and Broodlings, or maybe they just spawn Broodlings. So stuff like that could be like very destructive at that point, because if you end up getting that, and again, every time you upgrade Might as well, you also are increasing the damage. It's like it's a really complex system. I don't really know how I'm gonna best explain it in game, but basically, like, the tooltip for upgrading Might will say increases base damage by 15%, gains 20% increased HP, gains 1 armor, and then like it'll say the specific change. That'll probably be how I do it. Still, it's a lot though. It's a lot to take in. So yeah. So in this case, it's not all queens. It's really just this particular hero strain. But the idea is that theoretically you could just get a bunch of Bastathirs. Like, if you had enough money and enough free supply, you could get a bunch of these guys and then just upgrade Might by level 1. And the upgrades actually improve in speed the higher your tech level is. So, like, for example, where is it here? Mutation and morph speeds increase by 33% at Lair Tech and 66% on Hive Tech. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So you'll notice that all of these Aberrants have a deploy cost and a morph cost. That's because the Devouring One Aberrant can morph to the Hunter-Killer Aberrant, or the Queen Aberrant, or the Defiler Aberrant, or the Ultralisk Aberrant, or the Mutalisk Aberrant, and back and forth. They can mutate down the entire genome, basically. So you can mutate your Nathrakor into a Bastathir if you want. And they keep their upgrades. So if you mutate Might, you get 2 levels of mutate Might on the Bastathir, so that you get both of those upgrades, right? But then you say, I need to mutate to a Devouring One for this next battle or something, for whatever reason, or an Ultralisk. You can do that. You'll have to pay the money. The money doesn't go down, but the time cost is reduced. So the higher your tech level is, the faster that happens. So, like, that's another example. So, like, you don't actually have to specialize into just getting a hero version of these units. You deploy one and you can go through the whole tech tree as long as you have the upgrades. Like, if you have as long as you have a Queen's Nest, you can morph to Bastathir. As long as you have a Hydra Den, you can morph to the Hunter-Killer. So stuff like that. So it's very work in progress. I don't know about the numbers yet, but I'm really excited to see that in action. Like, I can only imagine some of the stuff there is going to really destroy stuff. You're going to see some real fucked up strategies, man. Very interesting ones, anyway. We'll see what I can do, I guess. See what else I can come up with. Yeah, you're picking up what I'm putting down. Glad to hear it, man. Alright, so we have area town east. So I'm trying to figure out how many hatcheries I want to place over here. Probably one more there. We can give them like 5 or 6 here. Pretty spacious build space. Yeah, if you want to read the whole thing, I can throw it in the YouTube chat for you. It should also be in the description, but I may have forgotten. Let's see. It's ballooned to a pretty large size, so. Whoa! Fuck! I think I just made a new desktop, right? Close those. Nice, man. Hope you like what you read over there. It's definitely more for my own organizational purposes than anything else. I think I can make it so that these are all backup bases, or at least this one can be. I don't have any issues doing that. So what don't we do? We got 1, 2, 3, right? 4, 5, 6. You've had a bad waifu from acting so normal. What do you... Bad waifu? Or do you actually mean bad wife in that sense? Oh, okay. Normally people say waifu as a woman who they can't have because she doesn't really exist. So you can imagine my confusion. No, I made a song. Well, I wrote a song and I did the lyrics and all this, and this was the background song music for it. And it was just me, you saying stuff in an Indian voice, calling some guy named Patrick, who's not the actual Patrick, dumb bitch or something. It's a pretty good song. Really, very diverse song. I think it worked out anyway. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, sometimes that's like that, though, you know. You do it because you love her. Or some other gay stuff. I've definitely been there before. Well, I've been the other way, where it's like... feels like your whole fucking life is taken over just by... a chick. You know what I mean? But, hopefully you guys are able to find a balance, you know? Something that works. I saw a Counter-Strike Frag movie that used this song in it, and now I can't help but imagine that in my head while it's all being said. Oh, you want to trash this relationship with those? In that case, you know, fuck her, hate her, never met her. I don't know. Hopefully, she's out of your hair soon. No, I've also been there though, so I know what you mean. Wow, I actually placed more than I thought. Oh, copy and paste. How I despise thee. I never ended up testing out my algorithmic shit, but that might be really, really useful for some of this stuff. I had a, for example, I had a AI that I wrote for the second Zerg map that I have not been able to test. Certainly, well, I mean, I could, theoretically. I just was waiting for the aberrants to get done, and then we worked on this, which isn't going to have aberrants in it, most likely. So we haven't wound up doing anything with that, but... one of the things that I was thinking about with that AI was, what if I developed some sort of algorithm type thing with the AI script that would go through all of the possible numbers of production structures it could build, and for every single production structure it owned that matched up with that, add a certain number of units. So like all of the attacks are like that. Like I can actually pull up. Just go here. I can pull that up. The attack algorithm or whatever is very, very silly. So that they can build up to 16 gateways. I think I made that cutoff. Like theoretically, they could build more, but like that was what I used for the cutoff for this point. And every single time they randomize between a certain number of a certain combination of units, so a certain number of a certain combination, and they go through the whole thing, and this only works if they have at least one, like at least this number in the map. So the idea is that if the AI is able to build 16 gateways, it can probably use 16 gateways in terms of its mineral count, right? So hopefully that works out. And then we have, like, you know, add a certain number of other units, add a certain number of all this other stuff. Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you again. And for sure, you know, I'll try to be streaming tomorrow. after the game night that we do, which is not really a game night, it's a game morning. I'm going to start that around like 10 o'clock, I think a little bit earlier, but we'll see. Maybe I'll sleep in instead. But after that, I should be doing another mod stream at some point, either in the afternoon or the evening, Eastern time. But always good to see you, man, and glad that you're doing well. See you around. But this AI algorithm that I've got going on here, I think it could work out. I might have to do something that randomizes between a few different opportunities. Like maybe there's one, like this is something that I came up with the idea with when I was doing it, I think. But it was like something like random jump 85, like 1 out of 3 times you're going to do like TI attack air. And then when you're doing that, it only loops through all of its stargates and only adds scouts. So like that could be an example of like there's a low chance, or a 1 in 3 chance in this case, that it'll attack with only air units. Like that could be pretty useful actually. So if we did something like this, just loop through the whole thing again. Like air. And, you know, suddenly we have a bit more variety in the attacks. And I think this is better than just... Like, in some ways, it's better than manually writing out all the attacks. Like, manually writing them out at the beginning is probably better, just because you'll have some understanding of, like, how the AI is. But... I already have checks to make sure that they have, like, a certain number of minimum workers available. A certain threshold of minimum other stuff available for that sort of thing, like resources and stuff like that. So they can't start an attack if they don't have at least, like, 300 ore in the bank or something like that. So they're never going to do something insane, like try to attack when they only have, like, 5 supply left, and they desperately need to hold back on that. But I think that this could work out really well as an alternative to writing late game attacks at the very least. And since the maps are so variable and there's so much like shit going on in them all the time, I don't really know if it makes sense to hard set the attacks. I think it makes more sense to do it algorithmically. And eventually we'll be able to do that a little bit more, well, in ways that are a little bit more, how shall we say, advanced, thorough, but right now that's like a proof of concept, I suppose. A tech demo with what we can actually do, what we can actually use. So, those are some thoughts. Most of the stream was just me lollygagging, honestly. I didn't really get a whole lot of work done. But we have something to come back to. I'll probably be tweaking this as time goes on throughout the rest of the day. I knew today was going to be a short one as far as the stream is concerned. And obviously we had to do some CS stuff at the beginning, so, you know how it goes. But, always nice to hang out with you guys. Always nice to talk shit and get hit. So, thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow with Fraud Night. I'll post a reminder on the Discord server about that. Starting at... Maybe we will stick to 12. I think that I'm more comfortable with that. But, we'll do that. I have to go see a movie, and then after that I should be back in the evening for another stream for modding. And then we will get more work done on this map. And then next week, hopefully we can return to more normalcy. We can see more modding. We can see more Warcraft 2. We'll finally finish that piece of shit and get the review up for that. And then we can focus on this for a while. Until next month rolls around, we can start everything up all over again. Half-Life 2 and all that stuff. So, looking forward to it. See you later, Balethal. Thanks for hanging out. Bye!